Welcome to the channel Reflections of Time.
In this episode, we travel to the land where myth meets history, where philosophy was born, and where art and warfare shaped civilizations. We explore ancient Greece, not only as a place of gods and heroes, but as the cradle of reason, democracy, and cultural identity. For thousands of years, this land has inspired poets, rulers, scholars, and dreamers across the world. From the palace walls of Crete to the philosophical dialogues of Athens, from epic battles to whispered prayers in stone temples, Greece is more than a story of the past. It is a mirror that still reflects who we are and what we seek. Do not forget to subscribe and like the video. Now, let us begin our journey into a civilization shaped by both logic and legend.
Crete and Mycenae, foundations of a legacy.
The origins of Greek civilization can be traced back to the Bronze Age, long before what we commonly call ancient Greece. Around the 3rd millennium before the Common Era, the Minoan civilization rose on the island of Crete. This seafaring society built multi-story palaces, including the famous Palace of Knossos, featuring frescoes, labyrinthine corridors, and a highly organized layout. The Minoans had their own form of writing, engaged in widespread trade, and left behind intricate art. Their culture emphasized balance, nature, and ritual. However, around the 14th century before the Common Era, the Minoans disappeared, possibly due to a volcanic eruption and resulting tsunamis from the island of Thera. Soon after, on the Greek mainland, the Mycenaean civilization took form. These warlike kingdoms, such as Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos, built massive stone fortresses and royal tombs. Their art focused on military power and divine authority. Golden masks, bronze weapons, and written tablets in the Linear B script provide insight into their complex society. The Mycenaeans likely inspired the epic tales of the Trojan War, immortalized centuries later by Homer in the Iliad. Though shrouded in myth, the Mycenaean presence marks the true beginning of Greek cultural identity.
The emergence of the polis, a new model of community.
After the decline of the Mycenaeans, Greece entered a centuries-long period of reduced complexity. Yet by the 8th century before the Common Era, a new political and social structure began to rise: the polis. The polis was not just a city. It was a community built around a shared sense of identity, responsibility, and public life. Each polis had its own government, army, laws, coinage, and religious customs. Athens, Sparta, Thebes, Corinth, and Rhodes were among the most influential. Though independent, these city-states shared a language, similar deities, and common values. This balance between local pride and pan-Hellenic unity became a defining feature of the Greek world. Sparta focused on military strength, discipline, and equality among its warriors. Athens nurtured democracy, arts, and intellectual debate. While most polities were governed by elites, some, like Athens, experimented with rule by the people, a bold innovation in human governance. Citizenship in the polis was more than residence. It involved participation, defense of the city, and adherence to civic duties. While limited to freeborn men, this concept laid the groundwork for modern civic identity.
Greek mythology, memory, morality, and meaning.
To understand the Greeks, one must enter their myths. Their gods were not distant and perfect, but powerful beings with human emotions: love, jealousy, pride, and vengeance. Zeus ruled the skies, Poseidon the seas, Hades the underworld, and Athena stood for wisdom and strategy. Myths explained everything from natural phenomena to social customs. They warned of hubris, rewarded cleverness, and made sense of the unpredictable world. The stories of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods, or Orpheus, who journeyed into the underworld for love, carried both symbolic and spiritual weight. Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, preserved these myths in poetic form. The Iliad focused on honor and mortality during the siege of Troy. The Odyssey followed the journey of Odysseus across strange lands, monsters, and temptations on his return home. These tales shaped education, religion, ethics, and artistic expression across the Greek world. Temples, theaters, and public festivals reinforced these shared narratives.
The Persian Wars, defending autonomy.
By the early 5th century before the Common Era, the Greek city-states faced a massive external threat, the Persian Empire. As Persia expanded westward, it absorbed the Ionian Greek cities in Asia Minor. When these cities rebelled, Athens sent military aid, provoking a Persian response. What followed was a series of legendary confrontations. At the Battle of Marathon, Athenian hoplites defeated a far larger Persian force. The victory became a symbol of unity, determination, and the power of citizen soldiers. A few years later, Persian King Xerxes launched a vast invasion. At Thermopylae, King Leonidas of Sparta and a small Greek force resisted heroically. Though they were overwhelmed, their sacrifice inspired the entire Greek world. At Salamis, a cunning Athenian naval maneuver led to a decisive Greek victory. The final battle at Plataea drove the Persians back and secured Greek independence. These wars were not merely military victories. They were existential affirmations of a way of life, freedom, local governance, and the belief that each polis had a right to chart its own destiny.
The Athenian Golden Age, light of thought and form.
In the aftermath of the Persian Wars, Athens rose to preeminence. Its democratic institutions matured, trade expanded, and public works transformed the city. The Parthenon, standing atop the Acropolis, symbolized not just devotion to Athena, but the power of human creativity and balance. This was the time of Pericles, a statesman who championed civic participation, funded great architectural projects, and led Athens through its cultural apex. It was also the time of Socrates, who wandered the agora asking uncomfortable questions about justice, truth, and virtue. He was sentenced to death by his fellow citizens, but his legacy lived on through Plato, who imagined ideal forms and eternal truths. Aristotle, Plato's student, applied reason to the natural world, laying foundations in logic, biology, politics, and ethics. In drama, playwrights like Sophocles explored human fate and choice, while Euripides revealed inner emotional conflict. Comedies by Aristophanes critiqued contemporary politics and philosophy with biting satire. Science, mathematics, sculpture, and architecture flourished, all underpinned by a belief in proportion, harmony, and the pursuit of arete, excellence in all things.
The Peloponnesian War, collapse from within.
But golden ages do not last forever. Athens' growing dominance stirred resentment, especially in Sparta, a city devoted to restraint and equality among its warriors. Tensions boiled over into the Peloponnesian War, a long and brutal conflict between the two major powers and their allies. It was a war of shifting alliances, sieges, famine, and plague. Athens suffered terribly. Its population was devastated by disease, and political instability weakened its democracy. The war ended in a Spartan victory, but the damage was widespread. Greek unity fractured. Many cities fell into decline or faced internal strife. The ideals of civic virtue gave way to cynicism and disillusionment.
Macedonia and Alexander, empire and ambition.
As the city-states struggled, a new force emerged in the north, the Kingdom of Macedonia. Under King Philip II, the Greek cities were unified, often by force or diplomacy. After his assassination, his son Alexander took command and embarked on one of the most ambitious military campaigns in human history. Alexander conquered the Persian Empire, founded cities from Egypt to Central Asia, and spread Greek language and culture across continents. He died young, but his vision created a vast network of Greek-influenced territories. This marked the beginning of the Hellenistic era, a period of cultural fusion. Greek ideas blended with Egyptian, Persian, Mesopotamian, and Indian traditions. It was no longer the world of city-states. It was a cosmopolitan world where knowledge and exchange flowed freely.
The Hellenistic world, centers of learning and art.
In cities like Alexandria, Pergamon, and Antioch, libraries, museums, and academies were founded. The Library of Alexandria became a beacon of scholarship, where texts from across the known world were collected, translated, and debated. Mathematicians such as Euclid and Archimedes developed principles still studied today. Doctors like Herophilos dissected human bodies to understand anatomy. Philosophers explored ethics, logic, and metaphysics in new, more diverse ways. Sculpture and painting emphasized realism, capturing age, emotion, and the everyday. No longer were the gods the only subjects. Ordinary people became worthy of representation. This era demonstrated that Greek culture was adaptable, open to change, and capable of thriving far beyond its birthplace.
Roman rule and the Greek spirit.
By the 2nd century before the Common Era, Rome had conquered most of the Hellenistic world. But it did not erase Greek culture. It absorbed it. Roman religion adopted Greek gods with new names. Roman education was based on Greek texts. Roman architecture, philosophy, law, and art drew heavily from Greek precedents. In the Eastern Roman Empire, Greek remained the dominant language of education and administration. Cities like Athens continued as centers of philosophical training, especially for Stoic and Neoplatonist thinkers. When the Roman Empire split, the eastern portion, later known as the Byzantine Empire, preserved Greek identity for another 1,000 years.
Byzantium, the Ottomans, and the idea of Greece.
In the Byzantine period, Greek culture merged with Orthodox Christianity. The ancient temples gave way to churches, and classical philosophy was reinterpreted through theological lenses. Icons, liturgy, and sacred architecture kept alive a uniquely Greek Christian worldview. When the Ottoman Empire conquered Constantinople in the 15th century, Greek territories fell under Islamic rule. Yet through the millet system, Greeks retained their language, religion, and communal life. Despite centuries of occupation, the memory of ancient Greece endured, in churches, in oral traditions, and in the dreams of national rebirth. In the 19th century, Greek revolutionaries fought for independence, inspired both by Enlightenment ideals and the desire to reclaim their ancient legacy.
The modern nation, past as identity.
After gaining independence, the new Greek state turned to its classical heritage to define itself. Temples were restored, ancient names revived, and Greek language reformed to reflect its roots. Education emphasized Homer, Plato, and the ideals of democracy. Public buildings echoed Doric and Ionic styles. National holidays commemorated both ancient battles and modern revolutions. Modern Greece is not simply the heir of ancient glory. It is a country that remembers, through ruins and rituals, through names and narratives, that it once helped shape the world's understanding of what it means to be human.
Conclusion.
The story of Greece is the story of human aspiration, to know, to build, to question, to express. It is a civilization of stone and spirit, of myth and method. From the labyrinth of Knossos to the columns of the Parthenon, from the spear of Leonidas to the voice of Socrates, from the scrolls of Alexandria to the revolutions of the modern era, Greece endures. If you found this journey meaningful, do not forget to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. We will meet again in the next episode.